What is going on, Ship It Nation YouTube station? We are back with another edition of the Monday NBA show. We got 10 games to get through. We're going to try to get in and get out in under 60 minutes. That's our goal today. But BJ, I'll bring you in right away. How you doing, man? How was your weekend? It's I missed you on Friday. What's been going on?
Yeah, man, it's been good. Had some personal stuff. Sister-in-law had a baby, so we had to sneak out there and be there for the birth. But everything's good. Everybody's happy, healthy. Sorry, my kid's screaming. He's gonna quiet down here in a second. But everything's great, man. Excited to try and break down what we got on this 10-game slate. So much injury news that we're waiting on. So many moving parts. So we're gonna try and lay the foundation here on this show as we're waiting on so much news and everything can change on a dime. So we're gonna do our best to kind of lay the foundation. That's the best way I'm gonna put it.
Yeah, absolutely. Tons of stuff to break through. The Mavs have about 5 guys plus me and you on their bench. So lots to talk through on that. And hey, I'm not going to know if I'm going to be able to give out another Najee Marshall 10x play of the day like I gave out on Friday. Rio gave out Walker Kessler and went for 10x as well, but we'll do our best at the end of the show. So make sure you're sticking around there. I see a lot of people in the chat as always. Just do us a favor, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Richard, I don't know if that was you the other day that got second in the did you get second in the qualifier the other day? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but let us know in the chat if you did. That was a good team if you did. But my guy Big Nades is in here. Big Nades in here. Parabay, Langley, too good to be great. Gang Green as always. Daniels, my guy Wardo, Cody Berry. What's going on, Cody? Matt, Richard, Ricky Rose, New York, Stiegel, Jay. I don't know if that's the Jets. You a Jets fan? How do you feel about Justin Fields getting the Jets over there?
We saw some crazy news, Justin Fields and Sam Darnold. So, it's crazy that we're getting this in March, but yeah, crazy football stuff.
Yeah, no, there was a lot going on today. So obviously the NBA show, but man, tons of NFL news. Richard, I see that was you, man. Great team. That is the Stoneworks. Richard got second in a queue. BJ was hoping to get him on up there into the finals with our guy Rio, Hebrew Cheetah. But anyway, I know I've done I said we're going to get through in 60 minutes, and all I've done is talk for 4 minutes. So we'll get right into it. 76ers taking on the up-pace Hawks. I'm going to click the latest injury report because I know there's tons of injuries as it relates to the 76ers. Drummond's questionable. Embiid is done. PG8 is out as well. Kyle Lowry's out a few more games. Tyrese Maxey and Kelly Oubre are all out. Are we going to see Chalk, Lonnie Walker once again, who was absolutely balling last night? But talk to me about this game real quick on the other side. No major injury news to speak of. I mean, obviously, Jalen Johnson has been out, but I guess LeVert and Trae Young both questionable as well. But other than that, nothing new to report. Talk to me about this game, BJ.
Yeah, no, I mean, Sixers are just, going through their whole tank. They need to protect the top 6 pick. So not much. I mean, we're from the Sixers side, that is. I mean, people might get a little cute here trying to mix out different pieces. Bonner played 30 some odd minutes yesterday, went for like 50 DK. Drummond had 10. Yabu played 12. But it's really just going to be Lonnie Walker here, 3,600, coming off a career night. He's going to be obviously the most popular play on this team, maybe the whole slate. I mean, he's easy to click in at 3,600. Then I can make cases as secondary pieces for Grimes. Not really Edwards. I mean, if you feel like playing with fire, you could go back to the Yabu and the Drummond stuff. I'd be much rather, I'd be okay going Yabu rather than Drummond. If you want to throw some darts at Bonner off the bench, getting all those huge minutes that he got last night, I'm okay with that. But moral of the story here from the Sixers side is, hey, obviously we're playing Walker. Do we mess with Bonner? I mean, I can even throw Jared Butler in the mix at 4K. I think he can get some minutes, but we're kind of waiting on the injury news to finalize. Curious about PG. I did not get the alert if Maxey's officially out or not.
Yeah, Maxey's out, and PG's out too.
Okay, so they aren't questionable anymore. Well, no Oubre, no Paul George. I mean, it's going to be all the value here for the Sixers side, and
it's pretty loaded with Lonnie Walker. I mean, he's going to be 98.7% owned, I think.
98, I love it. Yeah,
I mean, how do you not play Lonnie Walker at 3,600?
That's going to be what discussion did we have, a couple of weeks back where somebody was just extremely mispriced and in the 3Ks and we played him and, that was our discussion. I mean, how
Deuce McBride.
No, that wasn't Deuce. That was another night, I think.
But that was Friday night when Deuce just killed everybody. A 3K guy, I don't remember a couple weeks ago, but 3,600. I'm telling you, there's no way people aren't clicking that name, Lonnie Walker, than filling out the rest of their team.
Yeah, no, and I agree with it. So I think it's kind of plug him in and move on. And then now that we have that news, I do like Jared Butler much more than Bona, however you want to pronounce it, at 3,400. From the Hawks side, though, I mean, if Trey's in 9,700, I'm okay with it. Same as Dyson Daniels. My question is that when we get to this point of the season, and we know the Sixers are bad, right? How many minutes realistically do these guys, on the Hawks get? They've all been playing big minutes. If this game is out of touch and 25 points, throughout the end of the third quarter, how much actual run do they get? I would anticipate at least one fewer rotation. So I'll be kind of, careful to get to them. But I mean, guys like Okongwu at 6,800, Trae Young at 9,700, Dyson Daniels. I mean, these guys are going to be guys that we're going to want to get to, especially versus this bad Sixers team with who they have playing. So I'm okay with all of them. I mean, Okongwu's definitely my favorite. They refuse to put his price into the 7Ks. He just continues to play big minutes and provide, huge floor with some upside. If Trae Young was to miss, we're going to fire up all of Levert at 5,400 coming off the bench. I like Niang even more at 4,300 if that's the case. But kind of, moral of the story is that there's 10 games on this slate, and I don't want to be too dialed in too early on the slate to be able to move around with some of the games that we have later in the night.
Yeah, I'm out on Quentin Grimes. I was the Quentin Grimes poster boy a couple slates ago, but they did say they were going to monitor his minutes, and at 6,800, I don't like going there. Yeah, anything else to add to this one, or can we move to the next one?
No, I think we're good to move on to a few games that won't be very fun to talk about. But
yeah, just got the alert. Denny and Jeremy Grant are one's doubtful, one's questionable. Anyway, we'll get to that game here in a minute. But next game up on the slate, we have Rio's Utah Jazz heading into Boston to take on the defending champs, and Utah playing out the string. But we do expect a few of these Celtics guys to miss tonight. Utah did play last night. The Boston obviously beat the Lakers on Saturday night, but Jordan Clarkson is out. I saw where I think it was Keontae George was listed as out earlier. Trying to see anybody else. Anybody else that I missed?
Collins, Sexton, and Springer are all questionable.
Yeah, they're all questionable. Yep. And then on the other side, you said pre-show that you think some of these Celtics are going to miss. Obviously, Chris Stapps hasn't played in a while. He's listed as doubtful. But then Horford and Jason Tatum are listed as questionable. That's all I'm seeing for the Celtics. But looks like Drew's going to be back, which he played the other night as well. Anybody else that I'm missing? But talk to me about this game. Should be a blowout. And we've picked on Utah all season long, especially with the guards. Talk to me about this one.
Yeah, I mean, like I said pre-show, I would assume both Horford and Tatum are going to sit. I mean, they, at this point in the season, they're 17-point favorites. Tatum obviously coming off huge minutes along with everybody else in that Lakers game. So we're going to talk about it, but I don't love much here. I mean, when you look down, on the Jazz side, it's pretty tough. We can't really make any decisions on the Jazz side with the injury news that is incoming. If all these guys are listed out, which, a couple of these guys will be out. I don't know if it's going to be the Sextons, the Collins, the Market. I don't know who it will be, but whoever is out, that's going to in line for everybody else to play. So Kessler at 7,300. I mean, he's expensive, low owned, don't love the play, but I mean, he's, a hooper and obviously, has a high floor with a decent ceiling. I'd get to him if Marketing and Collins are out. You can get behind the Sexton if he's in at 5,800. You can get behind Juzang off the bench or Sense Ball off of the bench if they get asserted into the starting lineups. But this is a tough spot for me. I mean, we have a team total just over 100. You're going into Boston. Boston's, playing good basketball coming off the win versus the Lakers. All of them played huge minutes. So if these starters end up playing, I won't get to very many Jazz. And then from the Celtics side, Jason Tatum will be first on the list at 10-3. He is getting some ownership, though, which is really interesting to me. Kind of the same thing. I mean, 17-point favorites. We don't like to kind of predict blowouts because it is the NBA and on any given night. But it'd be tough for me to get behind a 20 to 25% owned 10K Jason Tatum in a 17-point spread. Yes, he will score points and help your lineups. I don't anticipate like a 30-point DraftKings dud. But this is an area, this is a spot on a 10-game slate that I'm not going to get to him as much, specifically because of ownership. If he was to sit, Jaylen Brown at 8,300 would get propelled. I'm okay with that. Saving the $2,000, he really needs to get into the mid-40s. That is possible here. And I've kind of said it before. I always feel like he plays a few more minutes and blowouts than what you'd be accustomed to. So I'm okay there. No Holiday for me. I think, this is a classic spot for him I anticipate him to play. But minutes be a little bit, of a concern here as we end the season. So I'm going to be off Holiday at 4,800. You can get behind Derek White specifically if Tatum is out at 6,800. He finds himself, so many extra shots with him off the floor. So I like him, but I won't play him if Tatum is in. Horford, even if he is or out, not going to get to him at 5,100. And that's going to bring into discussion if he is ruled out tonight. We will have opportunities at value, whether it's Kornet at 44, Hauser at 37. You can, if you're making tons of lineups, get behind like Quaid at 39 and some blowout run, him to be productive in his.
Don't play Quaid. That guy's terrible, man. He was missing layups. That guy's awful.
He's a stick, but he falls into a couple putbacks here. Those points accumulate pretty quickly, but that's more of Horford's out and Kornet. I just, kind of say that if Kornet gets a starting lineup and Quaid off the bench, 3,900, maybe get extra run in that blowout. But no, I mean, the real guy I've left out here, because I don't really want to talk about him, is Peyton Pritchard at 5,700. We don't have ownership up yet. If Tatum's out, he's going to be popular. I would assume 57, kind of in, the perfect spot for him. Will be tough to get away from, but if he's highly owned, I don't think I'm getting to him tonight.
Yeah, I always like Peyton Pritchard and Derek White when Tatum misses. For some reason, I just feel like when Brown's missing, they don't get as many shots as when Tatum. I mean, obviously Tatum shoots it a bunch, but I just like Peyton Pritchard. And then Juzang, yeah, he's been starting a couple games, so be interested to see what he does. I mean, obviously, Sexton was probably missing or someone was probably missing, but I don't mind Juzang at that price at 4K if he's starting. Excellent breakdown there. BJ, see a lot of stuff going on in the chat. We appreciate that. Next up, we have the Lakers with no LeBron tonight taking on D'Angelo Russell, the former Laker great, and the Brooklyn Nets. Talk to me about this game. Should be not a very good game from a DFS perspective. Lakers 5.5-point favorites, 215.5-point total. Obviously, Luka's usage should go up a ton. I think Austin Reeves is a great spot. My guy, DK, Dalton Connect is in a great spot. You're probably going to tell me to play Trey Jemison at $3,000, but talk to me about this game, Lakers at the Nets.
I will not do that to you. So don't worry. We could X that off the plate. Absolutely. This is an ugly total. It feels, kind of a nasty game to even talk about on a 10-game slate, but I think there's like sneaky avenues to have a very, GPP winning score out of this. I mean, specifically, we don't have the news on Luka. I would anticipate him in 12K for him, obviously with no LeBron. He's going to be back to his old Mavericks ways, but this is going to be, the Reeves and Luka show. And I'm okay with both of those guys. Obviously, Reeves is going to get some ownership at 75. I would consider him, like, regardless of the pace, regardless of the style of this game, I think this is a great spot for him. I mean, the Nets have been really good versus the ball handling or pick and roll, so it is Luka, but, I think that would lead to Reeves getting a few extra shots, a few more assists for Luka rather than points. So really love Reeves. The next, decision point, if playing anybody on this Lakers team, is going to be the Connect or the Vanderbilt at 44 and 45. I think at this point, like it's going to be an ownership thing with, Dalton Connect being able to hit shots. So if I was making a decision between both of those two, I'll go with the lower owned guy that can also score more points. So it would be Dalton for me. But the reason why I say that this has, some stacking ability is because, one, if Luka plays, I think it's pretty easy if you like Luka today at 12K, under 10% ownership. I mean, he would have to obviously get into the mid 60s, probably flirt with 70 to make it worth it. But this is absolutely a spot where he can do it. He could be really productive regardless of how good they are versus the pick and roll. And then pairing him with Reeves and just saying, hey, I'm going to eat all of the offense of this 111-point team total. If Luka, somehow misses this game, you can get behind multiple of these Lakers, stacking up Reeves and Connect. You can make a case for even going 3 of them versus the Nets, but that's kind of where I'll leave that. I don't want to mess with any of the Gabe Vincents off the bench or or Alex Lynn or Jemison at 3K. I'm going to keep that off of the slate for this 10-game slate. But the reason why I like this one more time is to go Luka and Reeves and then jump over to the Nets side, which, like what you said, we have the the revenge narrative with D'Angelo Russell at 5,400. We get no Cam Thomas tonight. So then we're looking at Cam Johnson at sub 6K, who I really like. You can get behind a secondary plays, in my opinion, Claxton, Keon, and Zaire. I think all 5 of those guys have the potential to make lineups today. If you think that they're able to kind of go back and forth with the Lakers, I'm going to put Russell just slightly ahead of Cam Johnson, more of a price thing, but we know that he's going to be able to take so many shots at 6K or 5,900, so sub 6K. And we've seen this season that when he gets the shots, he can show you real upside. So I like pairing both those guys together and get multiple Lakers, and I will label Keon, Zaire, and Claxton as secondary plays from the Nets side.
Yeah, excellent breakdown there. I didn't realize because it went on the main slate, but D'Lo was balling out the other night against Charlotte. Does he take that into this game? You know he's going to be pissed off, man. At 5,400, I think that's a good play. Then with no LeBron, I think obviously Reeves turns into the secondary ball handler. I think he gets more opportunities at 7,500. He needs a good breakout game. Excellent breakdown there. Chat's in there popping, saying all sorts of things. We love that. Next up, we have the Hornets. We have Miles Bridges as Hornets taking on the Heat. Another super low total, 212-point total. Or no, I'm sorry, 217-point total. 9-point favorite. We got Tyler Hero's been playing well. Bam Adebayo's been playing very well. Your boy Andrew Wiggins been playing well. Taking on this Hornets team, and man, it's been the Miles Bridges show of late. BJ, I feel like he's not overtaking ball, but man, he's shooting it a lot and doing better than him from a daily fantasy perspective. But talk to me about this game. Should be slow pace, should be a boring game. Heat should handle it pretty handily, but Hornets at the Heat.
Yeah, 10-game slate, tough game for me to get to. We'll keep it as short as possible. Just it's a negative spot for the Hornets. They're not going to get as many possessions as they're used to. Absolutely, you can get behind LaMelo Ball at 9,400. Absolutely, you can get behind Miles Bridges at 8,500. But the matchup is tough. The pace is going to be slow. We have 10 games. We want to spend our money elsewhere. I don't even want to go through, the possibilities of any of these guys. I don't want to talk about Nurk. I don't want to talk about Josh Green. I don't want to talk about Nick Smith. I think all these guys have kind of reached points of their salary that it isn't profitable for your lineups. So I'll kind of leave it there. I mean, if you have anything from the Hornets side, absolutely jump in. But for me, this is kind of an easy spot just to, X off a whole Hornets team and just say, hey, if they beat me today, they beat me. The field agrees with essentially no ownership. And then jumping over to the Heat side, I mean, with the questionable tags on Burks, Robinson, and Highsmith, this has the possibility of getting some value. I mean, yes, Tyler Hero's been playing outstanding over the past month and a half. Yes, Bam has been playing outstanding, but I don't know if I want to spend $8,800 on Tyler Hero when you see so many other guys that you'd rather get to. I mean, just in the next couple games, I mean, why are we going to pay the extra $100 when we can get, Halliburton? I know he's coming off a few games that he's missed, but he gets to go again, gets a matchup with the Bulls up and down. Now, I don't want to get too cute with it. So Hero and Bam, absolutely at 88 and 9,300, can become plays for you. Wiggins is going to be too expensive at 6,600. I was looking at FanDuel. Yeah, it's right there, 6,100. He's okay on FanDuel, I guess. I don't play FanDuel like that. But with the discount, I'm okay with it for much cheaper. Ware's price is coming down 5,600. I can't get behind it yet. I kind of want to, let him kind of get about his wits as far as showing us upside again before we, start to roster him again with him and Bam on the floor together. If Burks, Duncan, and Highsmith were all to miss tonight, we're going to have, a 5K Terry Rozier that's going to be welcomed into our lives. And I guess I'd be okay with
Hornet
that.
Great Terry Rozier,
yeah. So, a little revenge narrative back to where he got in trouble or is getting in trouble for betting on himself or against himself, whatever it may be. But that's kind of where I stand. It's an ugly game. I'm okay clicking it off. And if you have anything, go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, no, nothing here. I mean, I feel like the whole Heat team has some sort of tag next to their name. But man, you can't pay 9,400 or 8,500 or 94 or 8,500 for those two big boys. In my opinion, I'm with you there on the Hornets. Easy one to cross off, in my opinion. Bam would be nice if for some reason Hero missed. His usage will go up, and I don't think Bam is a terrible play. Big boy price tag. Hornets have been brutal all season long against bigs. I think that trend continues tonight, but I think Hero would have to be out for me for that to happen.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the Wizards heading to Toronto to take on this Raptors team. We got tons of value. If you played this weekend, you know all about the value, or even on Friday for that matter. Tons of value with Toronto, with so many guys being out. Ingram's out, has been out. Dick is out. Agbaji's out. Walter's out. Magbo's out. Jakob is missing tonight. We know the bigs have been bad. Rio talked about Walker Kessler being a 6X, 6K play of the day, even though he was 6'6". But in any event, any love for these for Sar or some of these bigs for Washington? But I think it's going to be a pretty good DFS game, Washington at Toronto.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an excellent game to go ahead and target. You kind of led off with it there. I mean, I think both Sar and Vuk off the bench at 37, I think both these guys have the potential. You have to make a decision here about how you want to approach this game. With Sar, I mean, what realistically on my list, he keeps playing as a minutes projection. I keep putting him in at like 27, 28. I'm waiting for him to kind of break through that barrier. Until then, he can be really productive, but on a 10-game slate, it might be a little bit tougher. I'd be more comfortable going to Vooch off the bench at 3,700. I have him penciled in for like 18, 19 minutes with the hopes of him getting to 20. If that's the case, then I really like him in this spot. The field agrees at 22% ownership. But I think, when targeting this game, that's your first kind of decision point. Where am I going? Am I going to go to Sar? Am I going to go to Vooch off the bench? Because you want to target a big guy. After that, I can make cases for everybody. Jordan Poole came back in the lineup and went for 30-something real life, 7,200. This is going to be another good spot for him. And I really like that. So I'm going to go big guys first, make my decision there. And then my second decision being, hey, do I want my second wizard to be Jordan Poole paired up with the big guy that I choose? Absolutely. Okay, great. Plug him in. If you don't want to go the Poole route, Bub Carrington, Koulibaly, George, even make a case for Champagnie off of the bench. I think all of these guys are in an excellent spot. The starters, feels a little bit tougher when you're looking at a Koulibaly at 59 or a Keyshawn George at 53. But we're going to want plenty of combos of this game. So I'm okay going with any of those guys and then throwing Champagnie in at 4,100. The field's agreeing with Champagnie off the bench at 13%. I thought that was going to be a little bit sneakier than that, but I think there's a lot of moving parts until lock. So hopefully that ownership comes down a little bit because I like kind of being sneaky and playing him with Poole and Sar or Vooch. And then jumping over to the Raptors side, I mean, we're going to get more value. I mean, Orlando Robinson at 3,700, what's realistically his minutes projection? Probably mid-20s, I would say. And if he does get to his 25 minutes at just under a fantasy point per minute, he'll be an excellent play. The field agrees. People are going to get to him. The tough one for me is the RJ Barrett stuff. Obviously, Scotty Barnes' price is back up to 8,500. Yes, Quickly's back in the lineup. Would you, at 20% ownership with RJ at 7,400, yes, good matchup with the Wizards. But negatives, we have Barnes quickly back. I mean, AJ Lawson's in the lineup, and like Rio alluded to the other day in the chat, I believe it was Saturday, like the usage compared to him and Shed is a little bit off. But I mean, he's shot 24 shots the last 2 games. He just chucks. Now, the ball isn't going in, but you would think, if you have this opportunity, you've gotten this far into the NBA, he has the potential to be able to hit those shots. So it's a little bit tougher for me to look at RJ. I really liked him as profiling him as a good play today at 7,400. But then I look at, the ownership and possibilities of getting into the mid-20s, and I'm a little scared off. Would you say you would be, inclined to fade at that ownership? Do you still like RJ tonight at 74?
See, I don't like any of these, the big three, I'll call them, for the Raptors. Reason being is one of them missed in the last 2 games, right? I think Quickly and Barrett played the first time with Barrett sitting out. Then the following night, Quickly sat out, and it was Barrett and Barnes. All 3 of them together, I think they're, the chances of hitting their ceiling are much lower. So let me ask you this real quick. You said that Queta was the best play on the slate earlier at 3,900. So Queta versus Robinson. Queta versus Robinson versus Vukic. Rank those 3, backup center. Orlando Robinson may not even be a backup, but rate those 3 centers: 39, 37, 3,700.
Listen, we got no Queta talk. All right, but comparing these 2 here, it would be tough because Robinson will probably play 5 to 7 minutes more than Vooch, right? So your question is, hey, how productive can these people be? I think that in this situation, it would become an ownership thing for me. I could even argue you could play both and get a bunch of studs on a 10-game slate. How much ceiling does that have for your lineups? Maybe not as much as you would want, but it's going to be an ownership thing when they're that close. So at this moment, I will go Robinson over Vooch with the extra minutes. Yes, a little bit worse fantasy minute producer, but that's kind of the route that I would go as of right now if slate locked in 3 minutes.
Are we getting there's no way that Vooch, I did not call him Vooch. I don't think I did. Vukovic. I'm not good with pronunciations, but I'm going to go with Vukovic. Hebrew Cheetah is saying I said Vukcic, which I don't think that's what I said, but I'm not playing any of those guys. I'll leave those to you. And my guy Wardo was shitting on Rio Friday night for saying Robinson was a good play. All he did was put up 25 DraftKings points, which I don't think you needed it, but I guess that was still a win because on Friday night, how much was he? $3,500. Yeah, Orlando Robinson, that was. Moving on to the
real
next.
Quick before we move on, can you get behind AJ Lawson at 3,500? For me, you can't do it, man. I am just looking. I mean, yes, in the last 2 games, he's gone 4 of 24 from the field and 2 of 16 from threes. Right? Obviously, everybody being back is going to change stuff, but I mean, he's a chucker, man. When he's on the floor, if that shot can fall, that could be, if he hits 5-6 threes, and he is able to get up shots with all 3 of these guys, that could be a kind of a sneakier little $3,500 play, in my opinion. But it looks like he's getting 9%. But you're off. I might be on. We will wait to see that and see what happens as the slate starts.
Yeah, I think it goes. I think his usage goes down with those 3 back. Then someone was in the chat a minute ago talking about how they're trying to lose. Yeah, both teams.
If they're trying to lose, then you let him shoot, is what it looks like. So
Yeah,
maybe they'll fall. So I don't know.
That's true too. No, you didn't mention Koulibaly, 5,900. This game they played 2 nights ago. I think he had 40 DraftKings points. Any real quickly, any love?
If I'm not mistaken, was Poole out that game? That
Poole,
was a couple.
I think
that was his first game back. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Koulibaly, Bub, Keyshawn George, those guys will all fall into secondary plays for me, win game stacking. I think they're all so fairly priced, kind of in the range that they are, that you could essentially like throw darts about who you're going to get to. But for me, it's going to be taking one of the bigs and playing him with Jordan Poole. And then if I did want a third, I'd get to one of those guys, but don't hate it, but 5,900 with Poole and Sar. And I think I'd just rather go that route.
Yeah. Matt likes Rodin better, more peripherals, which, hey, I don't hate that whatsoever. And combine that with Hebrew talking about his usage being terrible, you might have a winner there. Pretty good. Next game on the slate in terms of daily fantasy purposes, got the Pacers taking on the Bulls, who love giving it up to the guards. You mentioned Tyrese earlier, and we have this year's MVP frontrunner Josh Giddey all the way up to $8,500. Been balling out of control. Trey Jones been playing good. And talk to me about this game. Should be a pretty good one from daily fantasy perspective. I think Giddey had a triple-double his last time out. It's been playing very well since they traded. I forget who they traded off the top of my head, but they made the trade, and all of a sudden he starts doing very well. Talk to me about this game, Pacers at the Bulls.
Yeah, I had probably like the biggest like rage tilt that I've had of all NBA season the other night with McConnell going out with the ankle roll, like first possession of the game. The reason why it was so frustrating for me is that I was trying to get a little weird, and I was like, do I take a popular McConnell or do I play Mathurin off the bench for no ownership? They were like $100 difference. I ended up, really considering Mathurin, didn't get to him, played McConnell instead. And Mathurin, I think, went for like 54 fantasy points that night. Now, that was on the back of McConnell being off the floor, but that will go down as the top rage moment I've had so far this season. But yeah, this is an interesting game here. It's interesting because we don't see very much ownership coming to this Pacers side. Almost 124 point team total, getting the Bulls. Obviously, both these teams are going to run up and down the floor. We see it with the 242.5 total. We're waiting on the Halliburton news. He's questionable. TJ is also questionable. We'll start with the Pacers side to make it simple. If Halliburton is out, we are going to obviously bump Nembhard, Nesmith, and Mathurin. I think like it's tough for me, and tell me if you disagree, but if Halliburton is out, Mathurin becomes like almost what feels like the primary scorer.
Yeah,
We saw that
he's better than those other two. I would agree with you on that.
And Siakam looks so like hesitant in some of these games to like take open shots and just get to the rim in general. So I found myself watching that game. Like Mathurin shoots the ball every freaking time down the floor. And then Siakam's, kind of playing backseat to him, and Turner's okay. And he disappeared in that second half of that game too. So if Halliburton is out, Mathurin's going to be my favorite. That ownership will go up. He's 5,200 for a score like that we saw. I mean, to start the season, his tag was like, if I'm not mistaken, like the mid 6Ks, in the first couple of months of the season. And so I like Mathurin, but I can get behind all three of those guys, Nembhard, Nesmith, or Mathurin. If Halliburton was to miss, obviously we're still going to have to, consider playing Siakam at 82 because, if he has one of these games where he's going to take over and shoot the ball a ton, I like him. Same goes for Miles Turner at 67. But if Halliburton's in, like it kind of changes everything, and it kind of just becomes like, hey, do I want to play Halliburton at 8,700? Kind of trust that this is the perfect style game for him up and down. If he hits shots, now we're talking about, a big time double-double, 15 to 25 point double-double with the amount of assists that he can accumulate as a whole. So anyways, to keep it simple on this, it's Halliburton sits. I'm getting to Nembhard, Nesmith, or Mathurin. Love Mathurin the most. Making my decision between Siakam at 82 or Turner at 67 and looking to get back with some of these Bulls. And then if Halliburton's in, it's just Halliburton for me. And then jumping over to the Bulls side, I mean, I don't know. Like, yes, Giddey, he's been balling. I think we're at the point, though, of his price and his minutes where we've kind of hit the ceiling. Like, how much higher can his price go? Yes, he's producing very well, but at $8,500 on a 10-game slate, he is certainly capable of it. But I mean, we're looking at least mid 40s to make it worth it. He has to flirt with 50, which obviously he's been doing. But at 10% ownership, I think I'll get away. Same kind of goes for Trey Jones. Now that his price is up to 48, I mean, he's playing all the minutes with Lonzo out. But 48 is a tough number for me. The other night, he essentially had no points, what felt like in the first half, and was able to finish strong. And then, if Vooch is in, I believe he's ruled in now, but if he's in at 7,700, I guess I can make a case, but he's been out long enough for me to really consider if he's not going to get full run when he's back. White at 72, Buzelis. I mean, all these prices are really fair. So please, I've babbled on too long without giving too much information, but do you agree with this? What Bulls are you getting to? Do we think that Giddey's price has now reached the point where how much longer can he be productive? Do you agree with all those things, or are you playing Giddey and like the Bulls?
I mean, you said you wanted Giddey to flirt with 40 into 50. I don't know 64, 52, 38, 53, 52, 62, 60, 58. Well, I don't know what else you want him to do, BJ. What was that? 7 out of his last 8. He's gotten to 50. Got a great matchup. He's playing 35-plus minutes. I think Giddey's in a great spot today. I think Tyrese Halliburton's in a great spot. I mean, the Bulls turned Deuce McBride into like peak Irvin Johnson. And so I think Halliburton can get that 25 points, 15 assists type of night. I wouldn't hate Nembhard should he miss. And then I think we said it earlier, but Mathurin at 5,200. But yeah, what about my boy Vukcic? You talked about 7,700 on both sites. I think his ownership comes up if he's in. He's missed the last couple games, as you alluded to. Anything else on this one? Or should we move
I think for that comparison, I think I just take the $1,000 difference to go down to Turner personally. But that's kind of where I stand there.
Yeah, excellent breakdown on that game. Next up is the Magic, fresh off their victory in Milwaukee. Now takes on Houston. Houston's been struggling. Amen Thompson. I don't know if you saw that, BJ, but he was, I think, a rebound shy of a triple-double. They left him in a 30-point game, and he rolled his ankle. Luckily, nothing major there in terms of ligament damage. But you have the Magic, Cole Anthony, Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner. Take on this Rockets team. They've been struggling, but it looks like Fred VanVleet is going to be back in the lineup tonight. Two, I think, slower-paced teams, definitely the Magic, but I feel like the Rockets play slower than maybe the numbers show. But talk to me about this game. No major injury news to talk about outside of what I mentioned. I guess you could say Reed Shepherd being out is a big thing, or not a big thing, but a thing. And then obviously Amen Thompson, as I alluded to. But Magic at the Rockets.
Yeah, did we get official that Fred VanVleet is going to be in? Was that new news that came through? Yeah, he's questionable. So That'll be the decision point. When I was taking my notes down for this game, I just wrote bad game, underline. So that's kind of relief. I guess you can get behind, some of these Magic guys. I mean, the real discussion when rostering the Magic is Franz or Paulo. I think, they play the same minutes. They have the same usage. They're very similar. So my decision over that would be Franz for the discount at 8,600 versus Paulo at 92. If you are getting to this game and you want to get different and make some game stacks here, you're going to have to play one of those guys. I'm okay there. The Cole Anthony stuff, I mean, if you think that he can get to 30 minutes, 5,100 just, is going to be a little too cheap. So you can absolutely get to him. I guess you can, take a stab at Wendell Carter at 5K. But, I'm just kind of, trying to look for something here in a 211 game total from the Magic side. I can't really get behind that. And then for the Rockets, it's all going to come down to if Fred VanVleet is in or if he's out. I mean, we saw Tari Eason, absolutely, he's playing well. He's not playing absolutely smashing, but 6K into the starting lineup, a little too much for me. Fred VanVleet is in at 66. You can make a case, I would say. But this is all the whole team changes depending on if he's in or out. If he's out, I want to fire up maybe some Jalen Green at 7,300. You'll be able to hit some of those shots in a slow pace matchup. I don't think that would affect him as much as what people think. So 7,300 for Jalen Green would be okay. I believe if he is ruled out, Holiday will be asserted into our lives at 3,400. I'm okay there at 34. That's going to have quite the discussion of value as you get closer to lock with all the other pieces that we have. But 3,400 for him, I guess, would be okay. And then I guess you can make a case for Jabari Smith coming off the bench if Fred VanVleet is out, kind of get a few extra looks, a few extra shots. But I think I talked too long about a game that has a 211 point total.
Yeah, I like Aaron Holiday. Should VanVleet miss, obviously 3,400, especially if he's starting. He's played well a few times he has started this year. Don't hate that. Excellent breakdown, BJ. We got a couple games left, almost 300 in here watching. Do us a quick favor, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. We certainly appreciate it. Just eclipsed the 10,000 subscriber mark. Couldn't have done it without everyone in here. We certainly appreciate everybody over at the Nation. Next game on the slate got the Suns, who beat up on the Mavericks last night, taking on the Grizzlies. I saw earlier that Bradley Beal is going to sit this one out. And then on the other side, Santi Aldama is out. Big news on Brandon Clark and Zach Edey. Both bigs are questionable. They played last night. Jaren Jackson Jr. is once again out. Luke Kennard is out. Vince Williams Jr. is questionable. He has not traditionally played on the second night of back-to-backs. But Desmond Bane, BJ, I don't know if you were going to talk on him, but 7,900. His rebounding has gone up. His shooting and scoring have gone up since Jaren has been out. But I love Bane tonight. Then on the flip side, if my guy Grayson Allen gets the start, heading back home to Memphis, not home, but former home, Grayson Allen at 4,200. Don't hate that. But talk to me about this game, Phoenix at the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I think it would make the most sense to assert Tyus Jones in the starting lineup. I would assume, or not necessarily assert, but have him play 30. I have him for 32 minutes. I would say he's probably the best play on the slate with no Bradley Beal, but couldn't agree more. I'll get to the Bane stuff in a second, but to keep it simple, Beal's out. So we got Booker and Durant, they're both going to see bumps, not getting as much ownership. Obviously this will change, but relative on a 10-game slate, I don't think they're going to get as much ownership as they should. I am definitely Booker over Durant at this point for a slight discount, but essentially the same price. So I will be making teams tonight that do include Tyus Jones and Devin Booker together, and then picking, a couple of Grizzlies on the other side. Nick Richards at 4,600. I know that it's ugly, but he's kind of popping in some of these value sections. I don't mind him. You can even make a case for Royce O'Neal at 3,900, with the Beal stuff, he might get on. But I guess you can make a case for Grayson Allen at 42, but I'm going to keep it simple in a game like this with a 243 total and a nice close spread. We're taking off Beal, who's, been taking a lot of usage away from Durant and Booker. So I'm going to pick my favorite between those guys. I'm going to play Tyus Jones. I guess you can get behind, a little Bull if he's going to get minutes. Nick Richards, I think a little bit better for me. And then jumping over to the Grizzlies side, Bane's playing better than Morant as far as fantasy production goes. So, it's pretty cool. I like him personally as a player. I don't think he's just kind of like the quiet guy that gets it done. So I like him at 7,900. So I'm trying to figure out how easy it would to be building lineups with Tyus Jones and Booker with Bane on the other side. We have enough value on the slate today to be able to get plenty of those combos. I do like Ja as well, though, at 8,600. Like, these are spots versus Suns defense that had just been given up the entire world. That you could make a case to play both and eat the whole offense. Scottie Pippen at 4K. He's going to play. What do you think his minutes will be tonight? I'm checking what I have on my
26.
Yeah, I mean, and that's very fair. 4K lock and load. I mean, the real question for me is, like, am I going to be able to build lineups with Tyus Jones and Scottie Pippen together and be okay with that? If you had to choose between the two, which one would you lean?
I think Scottie Pippen, just because I think he does more from a rebound, steals, assist than Tyus Jones. Let me see what they project, but I would lean Pippen over Tyus. What about you?
I think so, barely, but I think I'd be more inclined to play them both. Like that.
I mean,
That's
if Scotty's starting, which we're showing him starting, that's a no-brainer. And if Ja Morant misses, I mean, you plug in Scottie Pippen, you plug in homeboy from the Sixers, and then you're off to the races on the rest of your lineup.
mm-hmm.
I think so, anyway.
Yeah, I would say so. It looks like as of right now, the minutes are, pretty not staggering, but like somewhere between like 5 and 9 minutes more for Tyus Jones. So that would make me lean him, but it's going to be close. Anyways, they're both going to be good plays today. And then you had spoke on Vince Williams at 3,800. If he does end up playing, yeah, he's questionable. If he does end up playing, I don't mind him. I would anticipate low 20s in minutes, so I'm okay with that. But no bigs for me. Like, yeah, you can get behind some Edie or some Clark, but I'd rather just stay away. I'd rather get, my pick between Bane and Ja on one side, take my pick between Booker and Durant on one side, pair them with the value on both teams and get some different combos of game stacks and really, have a chance at, winning tournaments if this game exceeds the over-under total and is nice and close. So that's kind of where I stand there.
Yeah, real quick. Ross mentioned Bowl. And so here, I want to get your take on Bowl, but here's my take is I watched the Nuggets game on Friday. I watched the Mavs game last night. They play him for the first 6 minutes in the first quarter. He literally doesn't come back in the rest of the half. He played 17 and 14 minutes, but in the two games against Memphis, if you'll remember, he kind of had his coming out party when he started against Memphis. I think it's maybe his first start of the year, but I think he put up 50 DraftKings points and played him a week later, put up 40. So any interest in Bowl at 5,200? He hasn't been playing much, but has that been more matchup? Is Coach Bud? I love it too. Our Discord just straight tilts Coach Bud in the Discord because that guy just makes, you got KD yelling at him. He's probably drinking at halftime. Like, who knows what's going on with that guy? But any bowl love it.
Gives off vibes like he would be sneaking in a drink at halftime.
Oh, no, he got a DUI several years ago. He just gets lit. He just looks like anyway. Any love for bowl at 5'2"?
Personally, no. I'm trying to think about yes, if you're making tons of game stacks, yes, you can get behind it. I would say what's a realistic minutes projection? Somewhere between 17 and 22. So just kind of depending on if you think this is a matchup where he gets a few more or an extra rotation or whatever it may be. But I'm trying to think about how many lineups of game stacks I would have to get to before I asserted him. But I think it's going to be 10 to 15. I think, I'm going to work out my combos and play Nick Richards before him. I would even be inclined to play maybe Royce O'Neal at 3,900. But like I said, this is making multiple lineups and game stacking. So don't love it. 5,200 on a 10-game slate. Yes, if he does get minutes, he's got extreme upside, as we know. But I don't think it's necessarily the place to force him into lineups.
He's got to get 25 plus for me, in my opinion. That's what same thing. Too good to be great. And Richard both think the same thing. And man, Nick Richards, same thing. It's like they took that guy out yesterday. The Mavs tallest dude was 6'8", and Richards had 10 in the first half, and he played 5 minutes in the second half. I just don't get Coach Bud.
I think specifically though, the Nick Richards stuff, I think he might get a few extra minutes with the matchup. He's got to get Edie on the other side, and I think he might get an extra rotation because of that. And if that's the case, 4,600 might be too cheap.
Yeah. Excellent breakdown there. Got the next game on the slate. It's a rematch of yesterday. This was a good one. We got the Nuggets staying in OKC to take on the free throw merchant Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the rest of this Thunder lineup. Aaron Gordon left yesterday's game early. He is out. I saw while we were talking on the show that that looks like Jokic is going to warm up as if he were playing. Trying to find the rest of the injury news. On
Murray's questionable too. I don't know if we have news about that.
Who is?
Jamal Murray.
Oh, Jamal Murray questionable. Yeah, I would assume he plays. So it's really just AG's out for the Nuggets, and then the two big boys are questionable. Strawther's been out, but no major injury news to report. Looks like Hartenstein is going to play. Adam Flagler, he is out. Thank goodness. I played him on Friday night, and he got me, I think, 1 point. But anyway, talk to me about this game. You got the Nuggets with a rematch against OKC.
Yeah, this is this is a tough spot here. I mean, Joker's up to 12-9, and still gathering ownership. So I won't be playing him tonight at 12-9. At 12-9, realistically, we're gonna have to get 80 fantasy points, which is certainly in his wheelhouse, but
just tough to do against this OKC team.
Yeah, it's really tough. Like, they're good at everything, specifically at the rim. So. And I'm a little concerned, how many minutes all these guys have been playing over the last few weeks. And I think it's starting to catch up a little bit when you look at the Murrays, when you look at the Browns, when you look at the Porters. They're going to get tired. They're going to, start to slow down a bit. And I think, getting this team again that, is the best in essentially all of the defensive categories, or at least top three, it's tough. I mean, with Aaron Gordon out, I think the biggest beneficiary is going to be Russ Westbrook at 5,500. I have him penciled in for 30-ish minutes. I think he's a great play at 5,500. He hasn't really seen the bump in salary that these other guys have been seeing with the huge minutes that they have. So I'll kind of just keep it short here for the Nugget side and go Russ is my favorite at 1, and then you get secondary plays on Brown, Porter, or Murray. And I think I'm more inclined to get to Brown or Porter before I get to Murray at 7,900. Like, the matchup is too tough. And it makes sense. It's just tough. And then the Joker stuff at almost needing 80 fantasy points. I can't get behind that on a 10-game slate. If for some reason he was to miss, I mean, we're probably going to get DeAndre Jordan at 3K, and then, we'll lock and load him. But it's all real tough versus Thunder's team. And to allude to when we jump over there, to allude to, Rio in the slate plan, it's 3 straight real life, 40-point fantasy out, or real life point outings for Shai at 11K. I can definitely get behind that. I mean, we've been targeting the Nuggets over the last couple of months, it feels like, in these high-paced games. They can't really stop much on defense. This is a great spot for him. He did not shoot great and had 40 real life. So I really like him, and Jalen Williams at 8,500, and we'll throw Hartenstein in there too at 7K. I think one of these guys have the potential to, flash some upside here with almost a 240 total, 120 point team total. And the game staying relatively close. I say relatively close. We see a 9-point spread, but I think, I'm okay to give back a few points because the total is so high. So don't want to get behind any of these guys in the mid 4Ks or anybody off the bench. So no Wallace, no Dort, no Joe, no Caruso. It's really going to be, hey, I like Shai, and then I will follow up with Jalen Williams and Hartenstein for cheaper. But if you had to make a decision now between Jalen Williams and Shai, which way are you going to go?
I'm going to go Jalen Williams. I mean, I think obviously SGA is a better player, but I mean, you said it. He's got 3 straight 40-point games, and he was really only needed once, and that was strictly due to his price being where it is, 11,000. I mean, he's got to get 65 to be on the winner, in my opinion, and he's gotten there one time in the last 5 outings. I mean, Jalen Williams is 8,500. I'm taking Josh Giddey over him all day long. What about you? Jalen Williams versus Giddey. I mean, both 8,500. What do you say about that?
I think you got to go Giddey, but man, I'm waiting for the Giddey slowdown a little bit. So I would be okay with Jalen Williams as well.
Jalen's a baller, man. Like he's fun to watch. He's like you said earlier about Bane. Like I feel like Jalen's very quiet, soft-spoken dude, but man, he's a hooper. SGA's a hooper too. Someone mentioned Porter. Michael Porter.
He's playing big minutes and I'm okay. He's rebounding pretty decently. His rebounding has changed, let's say, over the second half of the season. I'll be okay with it. But my question, like the first guy I'm getting to for the Nuggets is Russ. And my decision would be, am I okay rostering Russ and Porter together? And if that's the case, I'm most likely not getting Joker or Jamal Murray. That would be kind of my thought process there, is like, hey, like I'm playing Russ and have Porter together. Am I okay with taking, the third and fourth option as far as scoring goes? If you are okay with that, then absolutely, Porter's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm with you on Jokic. 12-9. That's too much, but I like Porter. He's going to play 35 minutes. The focus of the defense is going to be to stop Joker, stop Jamal Murray. That's going to lead to open MPJ looks. So I don't mind him at that price tag. What is he, 6,400 tonight? But yeah, no, you broke that one down tremendously well. Jalen Pickett, real quick before we move on to the next game, he played a ton of minutes yesterday, and he's only 3K. I mean, if you had to go there, would you be okay playing Jalen Pickett?
I mean, if you had to go there, for sure, but I think I would rearrange my lineup to be able to get the extra $700, $800 and get to this plethora of 3K options that we have on the rest of the slate.
Yeah, that would be more of a Murray kind of miss for me. One game left. Appreciate you tuning in. Hey, and when we're done here, you can head on over to SHIPITNation.com, get in the Discord. BJ, myself, Rio will be with you up until lock tonight. We got one game left on this slate, Monday slate. Got the Mavericks, the shorthanded Mavericks, headed to the Spurs. Pretty high total between two teams trying to lose, but Mavericks at the Spurs. I know the Mavs played yesterday. I'm pretty sure the Spurs did as well. Yep, Spurs played last night in Minnesota. Now get to come home. People have been playing De'Aaron Fox for some reason over the last month, and he hasn't really given us the production that we wanted. But my boy Steven Castle has. I love Klay Thompson tonight. He's going to shoot it 20 times. Talk to me about this game. I mean, everybody for the Mavs is out pretty much. Davis, Washington, Gafford, Lively, Kai Jones, Hardy. Anybody that you like, Najee Marshall's up to 6'8". But anyway, talk to me this game, Dallas at the Spurs.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at who's going to play and how many minutes they're going to get, you have to like somebody here. I guess the real question before I dive in is how many Mavericks is too many? I think I'm okay, like maxing 3. You want 1? That's all? Yeah. See, I think.
No, you said how many's too many? I said 1's too many.
I think 3 would be my number. I think I'm good getting behind Najee. He's going to be my favorite, 6,800. He's just been doing everything. I like him. He's going to be one of the more popular plays in the entire slate. So I'm not no rocket science there. Max Christie at 5,400. I can get behind some Kessler Edwards at 4K, but Klay Thompson is the guy that I'm going to be a little slower on. 6K. Yes, he's going to shoot the ball a ton, but aside from this, what's it been? A week and a half? I don't know. Days are getting jumbled, but a week and a half of him finally getting the minutes that, we haven't seen for a little bit. He's finally producing, but 6K, man. I mean, damn, I'd rather go Dinwiddie, Christie, Marshall, Edwards, all ahead of him, unfortunately. But yeah, so it just, you got to make your decision on how many you want to play. I'm going to rank them: Najee, Christie, Kessler, Dinwiddie, Klay. That's where I'll leave it. I know yours is going to be different. And then jumping over to the Spurs side, I mean, damn, dude, you're right. I mean, Fox is almost 9K. Chris Paul, he's not doing anything. Castle is questionable tonight. I think, if Castle misses, that will definitely bump up the sell at 6,100. So I like him. The Bismack Biyombo stuff, at 47 with no Bassie. I mean, I guess. I mean, realistically, what do we think his minutes are? 20, 19 maybe? We'll call it. I mean, is that going to be enough minutes for 4,700? It won't be, but if for some reason he's able to get more, he could be in play if game stacking, but not very many options here for the Spurs. Dive in and let me know what I missed, but I think the decision becomes is how many Mavs are you going to play, and how many Mavs are you going to play if you're okay fading the Spurs on the other side?
So we got a question on Brandon Williams. I'm out on Brandon Williams. He left that game yesterday. And yeah, if he does play, I would take all of his unders because I think it's tough to come back from a hamstring. Plus, they don't want him to play. I think he's on a 10-day contract or something like that with 17 or 16 games to go. So I don't think he plays. But no, and I'm out on Exum too. I think Exum's on a minutes restriction. But man, give me all of Klay Thompson. I want to bet you, I'll take Klay and give you Dinwiddie and Max Christie. That's a dumb bet for me. But those guys. Dinwiddie was so bad.
Clay's just going to have 55
so bad. He took a dribble and shot like a baseline jumper and airballed it. That guy's, oh man, he's so bad. Klay Thompson's 40 burger easy. I'm putting my stake in the ground, BJ. Klay Thompson gets 40 today.
40. Okay, so I was gonna say, at what level over under would you bet like fantasy points? Like, I don't do like the underdog and the prize pick stuff, but at what number are you stopping betting the over under on fantasy points?
For who?
For Klay.
Oh, I mean, it's got to be like around 30.
If I threw out like a 40, if I threw out a 37.5 point line, you're obviously smashing the over.
Well, no, I would still take the under on that, but I mean, that's 6x his salary. I mean, I would say like probably 30, 32.
Okay.
But I think he gets 40 tonight. I think he goes for 40.
I love it. That's your play of the day, the Klay Thompson 40 burger at 6K. I love it. I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down so I don't forget the next time I see you.
Yep.
No, love it. But yeah, that's where I stand on the Mavericks. Klay will be my lowest. He's your highest. And then from the Spurs side, I don't have much. I think, I'll bump Vassell at 6,100 if Castle was to miss. But aside from that, I don't have much I love.
Thompson's going to get all the minutes he can handle. So is Marshall. We saw Marshall. I don't have his usage in front of me, probably like you or Rio does. But man, he was balling yesterday. He was balling against the Grizzlies. Been playing very well, but at 6,800, carrying that type of ownership, I think it's a great play. But just with 35% ownership, I'm going to go elsewhere myself.
Love it.
Yeah, awesome. That'll do it, BJ. We got through in under an hour, like we said we were going to do. I would be remiss. I'm still going to need your 6K or 6X 6K play of the day. Rio cheated the other day. He went to a guy that was 6'6", so I'll let you do it as well. But which guy, not named Klay Thompson, is going to 6X their salary tonight for the folks?
I have to go Russell Westbrook, 5,500. Gordon's going to miss. I think he's playing 32, 33, 34 minutes tonight. 5,500 fills the bucket of so many statistical categories, except for probably hitting threes. Maybe if he banks one in, but I'm taking Russell Westbrook, 5,500.
Russell Westbrook. Well, one of us is going to have a good night. One of us is not, because I think all the players you like, I don't like. But I'm going to give out. I've already given you Klay Thompson. I'm going to give you 2 in that Memphis game. If Scottie Pippen Jr. starts, he's 6X's. I think Grayson Allen. I like Grayson Allen tonight too. Up and down game. Going to shoot some threes. Hopefully Bol gets pulled early. But that'll do it. Anything else before we get on out of here, BJ?
No, I think 10-game slate. We're waiting on so much news. This is going to be, luckily, lock is 30 minutes later. So we got some time to kind of, digest and see what the avenues are going to be for injuries. But do not get yourself stuck. How many games are at the 4:30 time? I think there's like a handful of games that lock. But don't get 4. So 4 of the 10.
5. Yeah.
5. So half the slate. Okay. I wouldn't get too stuck with rostering most of your players in those games. Try and leave yourself avenues to change when we get the news on the Jokers, the anybody for the Mavs, who else we missing later in the afternoon.
But the good news is it's 9 of the 10 are the 30-minute window. Then you got that Spurs game. That's the last game on an island by itself. So we should have most of the news 6:30 my time, 4:30 your time. But by the time the slate locks, we should be good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Go Klay, go Russell Westbrook, huh?
Go Klay, go Russell. Our 2 6X plays of the day. Those should be locked and loaded. For my man BJ, we'll be back Friday. Or I won't be back Friday. Rio will be in my seat, or BJ will be in my seat. But I'll be out on a beach somewhere. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. Let's ship it.